Hello, this is Patricia welcoming you to the 2173rd edition of the Enfield Talking newspaper, Dateline 10th of January 2019. Your readers this week are Romany, Ros, Katherin and Patricia, with Dem on the controls. The editor was Phillip and the production and distribution team is Peter and Sandra. Our title music is Country Rock Polka, composed by Pat Prilly, Fernand Briand and Harry Breyer, and performed by Jean-Jacques Perret, and is used with his kind permission. The local news stories that we will be reading come from the Enfield Independent and the January edition of the Enfield Despatch. The lead story this week is Borough has highest rate of youth violence. But before the news, we have the sunrise and sunset times for the week beginning Monday, the 14th of January. And these are sunrise at 08:01 and sunset at 16:19. Do get in touch with us to share your own news and special announcements. We love to hear from you. If you have any comments about the Enfield Talking newspaper, please phone Deanda Jersey on 020-8805-6578. She's your listener's representative and will be pleased to help you. Now, Romany will read the first item of local news.
Enfield has the highest rate of serious youth violence in London, according to figures from the Metropolitan Police. There were 397 serious youth violence offences in Enfield in the year to November 2018, an 8.8% increase on the previous year. This bucked the trend across London as a whole, which saw a 5% fall in serious youth violence. Serious youth violence is defined by the Metropolitan Police as any offence of most serious violence or weapon-enabled crime where the victim is aged 1 to 19. Neighbouring Haringey, the borough with the fourth highest rate, witnessed a 5.5% rise in offences in the year to November, while Barnet saw a 13% fall in incidents. Meanwhile, knife crime offences in Enfield rose by 20% to reach a total of 630, whilst robberies involving guns jumped by 109.1% to 46. Residential burglaries rose by almost a quarter as the borough's overall crime rate climbed by just over 10%. The figures are due to be discussed at a meeting of Enfield's Crime Scrutiny Panel this week. Enfield has seen a spate of stabbings and shootings in recent months, and councillors held a heated debate on how to tackle the crime problem at a full council meeting in November. Labour councillors blamed cuts in police funding from central government for the rise, while some Conservative members accused the Mayor of London and the council of failing to make the best use of the available resources to tackle crime. The North Area Knife Crime and Serious Youth Violence Action Plan has been set up to tackle knife crime and serious youth violence across both Enfield and Haringey. A report on the action plan by Superintendent Nigel Brooks, which would also be discussed at the Crime Scrutiny Panel, says that whilst there are now positive signs of stabilisation, knife crime and youth violence remains a significant challenge for London as a whole and locally. Superintendent Brooks states in the report that a multidisciplinary team has been set up to work across London to address the links between violence in the home and on the streets. He adds, it aims to better understand the risk factors in a person's early life that can lead to serious violence by using data from health, criminal justice and other public services. It will also focus on improved and sped up interventions at a local level with the aim of reducing violence and protecting those vulnerable to exploitation. The Crime Scrutiny Panel will meet at 7:30 p.m. on Thursday, January the 10th, at Enfield Civic Centre.
Tackling loneliness in Enfield.
2/5 of all older people say television is their main company, according to Charity Aid UK. 9 million people in Britain say they are always or often lonely, according to the British Red Cross and Co-op's Loneliness Action Group. Loneliness increases the likelihood of death by 26%, according to the Campaign to End Loneliness. And in 2018, Enfield Asian Welfare Association celebrated its 20th year of working with the local elderly community. These statistics are the reason we are launching our Social Hub project, which will find isolated older people and offer them a chance to meet with others to go shopping, have coffee or eat a meal together, and participate in local activities. This project will allow such people to connect and bring them back into community rather than them being left alone. We will approach people from sheltered homes, libraries, coffee shops, post offices and similar places, and once groups are formed, we will find out what the group's activities would prefer and offer opportunities accordingly. We are currently fundraising for this project so that it can become a reality, and the Co-op has selected Social Hub Project so that it can be supported by its members. When a Co-op member shops at a Co-op supermarket, 1% of what they spend on branded products and services can help fund community projects. And now, as part of your regular shop at Co-op, if you are a member, you can nominate Social Hub Project to receive funds until November. So if you want to become a Co-op member and nominate, what a bonus that would be. And you'd also help isolated older people from being lonely.
No confidence bid fails. The leader of Enfield Council says it is time to move forward after a motion of no confidence against her failed. The motion, tabled by members of Enfield Southgate Constituency Labour Party, the CLP, called on Nezil Chaliskan to resign as leader over her decision in November to temporarily remove Yasemin Brett from her post as Cabinet Member for Public Health. Councillor Brett was disciplined by Councillor Chaliskan after breaking ranks with colleagues over a Cabinet report relating to the North London Waste Plan. But the no confidence motion was not carried by the CLP, while an amended motion calling for ongoing dialogue to resolve disagreements was approved instead. Councillor Chaliskan said, "I welcome the fact Enfield Southgate constituency members did not carry the motion of no confidence. Now this is a time to move forward. This is the toughest of times for our communities because of Conservative government cuts. I will continue to be 100% focused as council leader, working with all councillors to address the real issues facing local people." The amended motion carried by the CLP called for clarification of the rules by which councillors can withdraw from Cabinet discussions on the grounds of non-pecuniary interest. It also noted that an investigation into the selection process for councillors last May was taking place and called for internal disagreements to be resolved through ongoing dialogue rather than mutual public recrimination. Councillor Brett had declined to take part in discussions over the North London Waste Plan because of her interest in wildlife. Pinkham Way, a wildlife site located in Haringey Borough on the border with Enfield, has been included in the plan.
Mum calls for removal of orcas after injury leaves her bedbound. A mum was forced to spend Christmas on crutches after she tripped over a cycle lane divider installed as part of the Cycle Enfield scheme. Lucy Wilkinson, who lives in Southgate, was on her way to the doctor at the end of November when she fell over an orca, a plastic fin used to separate cycle lanes from the main carriageway on green lanes, and fractured her kneecap. The mother of two's plans for Christmas were thrown into disarray as she was left bedbound and unable to shop for presents, and so had to resort to online shopping. Mrs. Wilkinson said, "I was going to the doctor, and as I walked out across the road, I went flat in the middle of the road and fractured my knee. I was lucky enough to get up in time to get across. If there'd been a car, I'd have been a lot more injured. If I was an elderly lady, I wouldn't have been able to get up." She added, "I couldn't work or get the kids to their schools and clubs. I live in a big house and getting up and down the stairs was a nightmare. I'm usually a very active person, but I was confined to my bed. Mrs. Wilkinson, who still needs to use crutches to go up and down the stairs, says she was not able to see the orca in the winter afternoon darkness. She said better lighting or luminous markings should be put in place to make people aware of the orcas, or they should be removed altogether. Mrs. Wilkinson suggested there were more people being injured by the cycle lanes than there were using them. She said, what does it have to take to remove these things? For someone to be killed? I think there should be either warning signs saying beware of orcas, or better lighting to show they're there. I don't think use a pedestrian crossing is a valid excuse. Mrs. Wilkinson is planning to make a personal injury claim against the council and could receive compensation if her bid is successful. The council has previously refused to move the orcas after facing complaints from people who tripped over them. Enfield Council declined to comment on Mrs. Wilkinson's case due to the threat of legal action.
Concern over sexual health spending. Spending on sexual health services has fallen faster in Enfield than anywhere else in London, new figures show. Data revealed under Freedom of Information laws showed that there had been a 47.5% reduction in money spent on sexual health in Enfield since 2013, compared to a 16% fall across London as a whole. Enfield Council has stressed that the drop in its spending on sexual health services from £8.9 million in 2013 to 14 to £4.7 million in 2018 to 19 is because of lower demand, not because of any cuts to services. However, there has been a rise in the number of newly diagnosed sexually transmitted infections, in brackets STIs, over the same period. Data from Public Health England shows that the number of new STIs diagnosed in Enfield has risen by 4.7% since 2014, in contrast to London as a whole, where there has been a 0.9% fall in new STIs, although Enfield still has the 13th lowest STI rate in the capital. Yasmin Brett, Cabinet Member for Public Health, said, local authority sexual health services are funded on an as-used basis. Consequently, local authorities are charged each time sexual health services are used by their residents. Sexual health funding is therefore driven by demand, and Enfield Council is not able to cut sexual health services to residents. On the contrary, in partnership with North Middlesex Hospital, Enfield Council has opened one of the foremost sexual health clinics in London. Enfield residents may now access a range of sexual health services at the newly opened Silver Point Medical Centre in 4th Street, Edmonton, including regular walk-in appointments. The centre is operated by Enfield Clinics Health Organisation, using the acronym ECHO, a local NHS-run organisation which also provides services at the Town Clinic in Enfield and at Enfield Island Surgery. The figures on sexual health spending were revealed by London Assembly member Sian Berry, who has raised concerns over the availability of services. She said, for some people, even asking for help for sexual health problems can be a barrier to accessing services. But the situation is worsening as Londoners are having to compete for appointments or even being turned away from clinics. Councillor Brett said the opening of Silver Point Medical Centre was helping to address the problem. She said, ECHO offers a full sexual health service, including testing and treatment of STIs, a check-and-go service, treatment for HIV, and treatment for recurrent infections and complex contraception. Residents visiting the website may also order a free STI testing kit online. Enfield has made strenuous efforts to improve sexual health in the borough, We recognise that sexuality is a normal, healthy part of life, and we will continue to do everything we can to ensure that our residents have the support they need to live and enjoy long and healthy lives. And to access the sexual health services with Enfield Clinic Health Organisation, which is also called ECHO, call 020 888 4510 or visit ECHO, that's ECHO clinics, one word, .nhs.uk.
Mayor praises new cycle lanes. Sadiq Khan says Enfield's Mini Holland cycling scheme should be replicated across the capital. Mayor of London visited Edmonton Green to check out the newly installed cycle lanes around the station and announced a new set of quality standards for all cycle routes. The ongoing £30 million Cycle Enfield programme, dubbed Mini Holland by former Mayor Boris Johnson when the scheme was announced 5 years ago, has been praised by cycle campaigners, but also criticised by business owners who have blamed new cycle lanes for declines in trade. New segregated routes have been created in Palmer's Green and Winchmore Hill, while work is ongoing in Ponders End. The roundabout in Edmonton Green is the latest scheme to be completed and includes new planting and cycle storage outside the station. Mayor Khan told Despatch, "Here in Outer London there are many occasional cyclists who need to have the confidence to cycle, and this junction in Edmonton Green has been made safer. Cycling can be scary if you're an occasional cyclist, but actually this roundabout is not scary. I've just cycled it myself. I think it is very exciting and is a template for town centres to follow. It is possible to use a combination of cycling and public transport to get about Enfield and Edmonton, and that is really good to see." The Mayor of London used his visit to Edmonton Green to announce a major overhaul in the way London's cycling infrastructure is promoted, the way investment decisions are made, and to launch the world's first cycling infrastructure database. He said, "We have made sure that we've learned mistakes from the past. If you have investment in cycling infrastructure, more people will cycle. But we need to make sure people aren't confused between cycle superhighways, quiet ways, and Mini Holland, and make sure it is all in plain English. We are releasing the data about where all these different paths are, where you can get cycle training, and the idea is that innovators will use that to create apps to make it easier to get around. Previously, we've been giving out money for things like quiet ways without any quality assurance. The whole point of a quiet way is to move cyclists to quiet parts of the road. But if they're not quiet, then what's the point? There are cycle lanes now that aren't very safe. At City Hall now, we are going to make sure there are steps to reduce traffic. There is no point investing in cycling if it is not very safe." The Mayor claims his plans for cycling investment will see the number of journeys made by bike double over the next 6 years. The segregated cycle lanes along Green Lanes through Palmer's Green and Winchmore Hill have seen a 52% increase in cycling, according to the Transport for London. However, the cycle lanes continue to attract strong criticism from residents and business owners. Last year, a survey of traders saw lack of parking and new cycle lanes listed as the top reason for declines in trade. The council has also opened a new public consultation for parts of the Green Lanes project after admitting they were built using experimental traffic orders that necessitated further feedback and possible revision before being made permanent. People can give their views online via cycleenfield.co.uk/A105 between now and June 2019. The Cycle Enfield programme is also set to include new cycle lanes in Enfield town, but no detailed scheme has yet been published. Asked whether the negative reaction from business owners in Green Lanes had prompted a rethink, Council leader Nestle Caliscan told the Despatch, "We want each town centre to have its own personality. In Enfield town, traders have expressed concerns about empty shops, so we want to look at that. We are going to have a big public meeting and we want to have conversations with local people." The council have recently submitted a bid for up to £10 million to TfL, separate to the Mini Holland programme, which, if successful, could see a large-scale revamp of Enfield town.
And on a similar idea, we've got a letter here in the Enfield Despatch from Mike DeHaan of Southgate, entitled Good and Bad of Cycle Lanes. And he says, when travelling to Sainsbury's, I do not use cycle lanes as I am overloaded. When travelling along London Road from the Triangle in Palmer's Green, I will not use the cycle lane as I know my shopping will be too heavy. The only good thing about the cycle lanes is that it slows traffic, as one cannot overtake, and I must wait behind a bus all the time. I know my journey takes longer and causes more pollution, petrol consumption and wear and tear on my car, but for the so few cyclists I've seen using the lanes, it is worth it. During bad weather, I have not seen any cyclists. Furthermore, I can't park outside local shops.
Council criticised over failure to win funding bid. Enfield Council has been accused of letting down the borough's youngsters after failing to win funding for youth projects. Conservative group leader Joanne Laban blamed an incompetent submission by the Labour-run council for its failure to win money from a £15 million pot aimed at providing more opportunities for young Londoners, particularly those at risk of getting caught up in crime. The Mayor of London's Young Londoners Fund was set up to support a range of education, sport, cultural and other activities for children and young people. But the council's bid for the money, which came on top of an earlier £30 million funding round, was unsuccessful after the Greater London Authority ruled the proposal lacked outputs, outcomes and capability. Councillor Laban said, Enfield's Labour Council let down our young people with this submission. It shows incompetence, as many other boroughs were awarded funding, but Enfield missed out. We're lucky to have a lot going on in Enfield for young people, just not run by Enfield Council. But we need to do more, given our problems with serious youth violence. Labour councillors recently defended their record on crime at a full council meeting, in which they blamed funding cuts on the cuts to the Metropolitan Police and to the council for stopping them from tackling crime and its causes. A £100,000 package of youth activities put on by the council last summer aimed to prevent youngsters getting caught up in crime. The council has also defended its GLA funding bid and pointed out that only a small number of applications were successful. A spokesperson said, Enfield's bid to the Young Londoners Fund focused on providing additional support to children and young people at risk of school exclusion and or starting to become involved in crime, and was to supplement existing provision. The bid was developed by a partnership board of council officers and partner agencies, including the police and community organisations. The grant fund that we applied for received 109 bids from all parts of London, totalling £85 million against a fund of £45 million. Given the level of need in our borough and our historical underfunding, we are very disappointed not to have been successful on this occasion, and will be submitting another bid when the next funding round for the Young Londoner Fund opens.
Mind the Gap. A local mental health charity in Edmonton is working hard to fill the gap left by cuts to public spending. Mind in Enfield has held a special place amongst the borough's charities for more than 40 years, with a mission to promote and improve the mental and social well-being of local people. The charity challenges the stigma and isolation people suffering from mental health difficulties may face, and provides person-centred services which are consistent with the charity's vision of a local community where everybody enjoys greater mental well-being. The chair of Mind in Enfield, Lorraine Till, said an experience she had a month ago reminded her of just how crucial the service is to the community. Early one morning, I came to our headquarters in 4th Street and found a youngish man huddled in the doorway in a state of acute distress, she said. The documents he showed me made it clear that he had been moved from one agency to another without getting any reassurance about a place to sleep or means to eat. He was at the end of his tether. I brought him into our cafe for a cup of tea and saw how our magnificent staff swung into action to help him. Carol and Martine made him welcome. Sophia put aside personal commitments she had to chat with him and found out his problems, and Petronella, the head of our advocacy team, saw him and gave him the sympathetic advice which enabled him to see a way through. We know that thousands of people in Enfield face similar problems. Public expenditure cuts and the introduction of universal credit are making them worse. That experience demonstrated to me that we are vital in giving hope and confidence to people with mental health issues. That amounts to a tremendous contribution to the common good of Enfield. One immediate initiative Mind in Enfield is planning is the provision of advice on how to avoid debt and on dealing with debt for people with mental health issues. Mind in Enfield is also the front door access point of Enfield Connections, working as a delivery partner for the information and advice service. Lorraine says it is a strong and friendly working relationship with Enfield Connections. She adds, the signposting service we are providing is working well for the benefit of the whole community. For more information about Mind in Enfield, call 020 887 1480.
And now here's a letter in the Enfield Independent by Wendy Berry, who lives in Seafield Road, Enfield, and her letter is questioning Enfield's use of funds. Stop wasting our money. Enfield Local Authority has decided to place large planters at each end of the Mall and Selborne Road between Fox Lane and Cannon Hill, taking up half of the carriageway. I was shocked when I spotted these, each with its jolly little sign saying, "Welcome to our street." I wondered how refuse collection lorries or large delivery vans were managing to cross these roads, but last week it became clearer. One planter is now damaged and has been pushed to a 45-degree angle. We keep hearing that Enfield residents have to face more severe financial cuts, and we are consulting on the loss of weekly bin collections. So what are these wasteful planters all about? Apparently they are to stop rat running. I have to admit that I do use Selborne Road as part of the alternative route when I travel to Enfield, but simply to avoid the horrors of Enfield Lane, of Green Lane since the disastrous Cycle Enfield scheme came to pass. To take this journey via Green Lanes now involves waiting at multiple sets of traffic lights, numerous crossing, speed bumps, bus stops, etc., making the journey stop-start all the way. Now surely this is not good for the environment. When will the local authority realise that Enfield residents love their cars? The bigger the better. The number of Enfield tractors on the road is increasing all the time. They fill the narrow roads and curbside parking areas. Perhaps Enfield should be thinking of a way to target these unnecessary large vehicles, which are just not appropriate for our suburban streets. The new cycle lanes, which are hardly used, are certainly not to encourage people to get out of their vehicles. As an older person with a profoundly disabled son, I shall not be getting on a cycle any time soon. So please, Enfield local authorities, stop wasting our money on pointless schemes which do not achieve their objectives.
And now for some sport. And we're starting off with kind of a local success story. And it goes, Boss believes a different approach will be needed to win title. Spurs' philosophy may have to change. Tottenham manager Mauricio Pochettino believes his side have to operate in a different way if they are ever to win the Premier League. Pochettino has turned Spurs into title contenders over the last few seasons, but has barely spent any money in comparison to other clubs at the top of the English game. Spurs did not sign anyone in the summer transfer window, and Pochettino says he does not expect to do any business this month either. The Argentinian, who has been linked with the Manchester United job, does not believe it is sustainable for Spurs to keep challenging the likes of Manchester City and Liverpool unless they change their philosophy. The boss, who oversaw Friday's 7-0 FA Cup victory at Tranmere Rovers to set up a trip to Crystal Palace in the 4th round, said, "Of course now, after nearly 5 years, the club is on another level than 5 years ago, but how we operate in 4 or 5 years doesn't change. That is the point when sometimes people talk about winning titles. One thing is to reduce the gap with the top 4, to be competitive, to create a team capable of fighting with the big sides. But if we want to win titles, we need to operate in a different way. At the moment, we operate in the same way as we operated 5 years ago when we arrived. Of course, maybe we can win some titles, but it's going to be a tough job to do, because in that situation, every club in the last 5 years has been improving a lot. The other day, I saw a stat that in the last 10 years in England and in Europe, how the teams were spending their money. And I think we were at the bottom in England and Europe. Of course, we're doing a fantastic job, but if we want to be real contenders, we need to operate in a different way in the future. Pochettino's men were aiming to take a significant step to reaching the Carabao Cup final last night when they faced Chelsea in the first leg of their semi-final at Wembley Stadium.
And another sports story a little closer to home about Enfield Town's latest match. Youngs earns points against playoff rivals. Towners come from behind to secure draw. Enfield Town's run of 4 straight wins came to an end against playoff rivals Lewes as Sam Young's first half goal earned a share of the spoils. Darren Freeman's side had initially taken the lead on Saturday when Omar Lawson drilled in after only 11 minutes, but the Towners hit back before the break when Young's wrong-footed Lewis Carey in the visitors' goal. The hosts started slowly and had Youngs to thank for not going behind earlier than they did as he cleared off the line from an swinging corner. They hit back, though, and almost took the lead when Bilal Saoud, playing on the right, drove a shot towards goal with his left foot, but Carey was equal to the effort. Lewis regained control of the game after that effort, however, and took the lead early on, when Lawson picked the ball up on the right and was allowed far too much space to drill past Joe Wright. Both sides had their chances to score following the opening goal. Firstly, Enfield's Mark Weatherston twice headed off target, firstly from a throw-in and then from a corner, before Lewis's Kieran Payment came close when his cross shot was dealt with by Wright. Bricknell then had an effort excellently blocked by Olamide Oluwatomilehin before Weatherston was denied once more by a stunning point-blank block from Leon Redwood. Enfield applied the majority of the pressure after going behind and got their reward after 36 minutes. A poor clearance from goalkeeper Carey went straight to Matt Johnson, and his pass into Bricknell was laid on for Youngs to beat the keeper. Bricknell almost completed the turnaround before the break, but Carey made up for his previous error, producing a fine stop to tip over a speculative effort. The visitors had the first real opportunity of the second half as Tom Daly's diving header flew narrowly wide from Pament's free kick, but Saoud also went close for the hosts, only to have his mazy run stopped by Stacey Freeman. Bricknell had another opportunity to add to his impressive tally when Youngs was brought down by James Hammond, but his powerful effort from the resulting free kick was tipped away by Carey. Enfield's top scorer then thought he had put his side in front when he slotted in from Young's through ball, but the celebrations were cut short when the assistant referee raised the flag from offside. Pament had another good opportunity for Lewis at the other end when his shot was deflected just wide of Wright's left-hand post, and Freeman also wasted a headed effort, while Saoud spurned another opportunity for Enfield after being played in by Bricknell. The point means the Towners dropped down a place to 4th.
Archbishop honoured to receive Royal Award. A high-ranking member of the Church has been honoured by the Queen for his faithful service to young people in his community. Archbishop Kostakis Z. Evangelou will receive an MBE after being selected for the Queen's Award for Voluntary Service. Mr. Evangelou appeared in this year's honours list, most notably for helping to found and support the Edmonton Eagles Amateur Boxing Club, which serves as a positive place for young people. The club was set up in 2004 and now exists at the Montague Recreation Ground. It is supported through various organisations such as the Jack Petchey Foundation, council funding, events and user subscriptions. Speaking about his MBE, Mr. Evangelou said, it was a very humbling honour to be recognised. It was a big surprise to me to receive a letter from the Prime Minister's office saying I had been put forward, then appearing in the Queen's Honours list. I believe the actual ceremony will take place in February. Speaking about the Edmonton Eagles, the former teacher added, we work with the local community and different groups and organisations such as the police to help mentor, train and build up young people to have a more positive view of life. We exist partly to disqualify the gang culture and to give people more options to succeed in life. A spokesperson for the boxing club said, all of us at Edmonton Eagles are delighted that our head coach and honorary secretary, Archbishop Kostakis Evangelou, was honoured in the Queen's New Year's Honours with an MBE for his years of faithful service to young people in North London. This is such a wonderful award for an outstanding, selfless person in our community.
And here's one final local football report. Borough suffer late defeat. Enfield Borough conceded 2 goals late in the game to slip to a 3-2 defeat at home to Bedford in their first match of 2019. Sam McRae struck home from a free kick in the 88th minute, and then Martin Holland's diving header in the 5th minute of injury time completed the turnaround for the visitors in the South Midlands League Division 1 clash. After a positive start, Sean Rees's side took the lead when a corner was cleared to Jamish Lawrence, who lofted the ball back into the danger area, and Bedford's Michael Fisher headed the ball out of his own keeper's hand, and Thomas Opoku was on hand to slot through the crowd and into the net. Guy Chiembeni and Frank Chandler were called into action numerous times to prevent Bedford attacks, and when they did go forward, Enfield's frustration led them to take long-distance efforts that were no problem for Jordan Hudson in his visiting goal. With Bedford on top before the break, it was no surprise they started the second half well too. They equalised within 5 minutes of the restart, and Sam Smith's curling effort from the right struck the foot off the post, but Holland was on hand to tap in the rebound. And with less than 20 minutes remaining, substitute Sevi Bayo played in Richard Ennin, who was bundled over inside the penalty area. The referee pointed to the spot, and Bayo calmly converted to restore the lead. It looked as though Borough were going to hold on, but they were pegged back again when Curtis Jackson's block looped into the bar and McRae was on hand to score. It got worse late on, however, as Holland jumped towards Mason Smith's cross and diverted his header in off the post deep into injury time.
And now back to the news. Cash for new council homes. More than £18 million has been given to Enfield Council by the Mayor of London to build 571 social homes in the borough. Money is being allocated to London boroughs via a new fund to help boost council housing stocks and will be used along with existing right-to-buy receipts and borrowing to finance the building of hundreds of new social homes in Enfield. Nezol Chaliskan, the council leader, said, "I am delighted that our bid for funding has been successful. There is a chronic shortage of housing in Enfield, and this funding will help drive the construction of more than 570 homes in this borough, which will be available at London affordable rent levels."
Surf's up. Enfield could become home to London's first surfing facility. Lee Valley Regional Park Authority, LVRPA, announced plans for a £40 million world-class surfing venue called The Wave. It would be the centrepiece of a redevelopment scheme for land adjacent to Lee Valley Athletics Centre in Edmonton. The purpose-built surfing lake would generate 1,000 waves per hour, with some up to 2 metres high. Surfing is now an Olympic sport, with the first medals on offer at Tokyo 2020. LVRPA Chief Executive Sean Dawson said, "The Lee Valley Leisure Complex was once a sewage works and rubbish dump. A generation ago, we built what was then Europe's largest leisure centre. Now we hope to bring inland surfing here to create an outstanding new leisure destination for the capital and the region." This marks another exciting chapter in the history of the Lee Valley. Nick Hounsfield, founder of The Wave, the company which would run the new facility, said, "We want to create a space where people can have an amazing time by connecting with nature, each other and themselves. We know we can enhance this space and encourage more people to get outside in nature and get active."
And this is a letter addressed to Enfield Despatch, and it's from a person called Seton During. Dear Enfield Despatch, Enfield has been demanding more money from central government for policing. Unfortunately, they have still not yet evolved any tested and proven empirical formulae to ascertain the performance of every member of their staff about achieving measured desired objectives. A notorious public sector default to justify this request. Existing opportunities for optimising the economic management and administration of the Metropolitan Police, including reducing the numbers of different ranks from about 11 to about 6, are not being exploited. The Met's organisation structure is uneconomically too fat and top-heavy, only serving career progression. Meanwhile, Enfield Council has only 1,120 fixed and 31 movable CCTV cameras. The onus is on all Enfield landlords to complement effective policing by installing CCTV on their own properties. If every landlord in Salisbury had done so, we would have recorded sightings of the people who sprayed deadly toxins on door handles and dumped the spray in a bin.
This is not the park I once knew. A park has been subjected to damage from vandals and thieves who stole wood to make fires. The Friends of Pym's Park reported the damage which was done to the path in and around the park in Edmonton. Wooden boundaries which separate the path from the turf were unearthed and the wood stolen to make fires for bonfires and picnics. Fencing has also been stolen and thieves have damaged the old house in Pym's Park by stealing lead from the roof to sell it. Councillor George Sava of Hazelbury Ward said, "This is a beautiful park and the Friends of Pym's Park are working to keep some law and order. I am liaising with police and council officers to find a long-term solution. But I'm very angry and extremely shocked from what I have observed. This historic house is damaged through some vandalism and some have even ripped the roof to remove lead and have attempted to gain access into the building via that roof. This is not the park I once knew." Along with damage to the park, litter has been left piling up on the lake. Beer cans and other debris have been thrown into the lake and now floating to the top, and this has posed a risk to the geese who may swallow inedible trash. Councillor Sava added, "This is just not on. We need to find those responsible and start prosecuting."
And now some good news about a park. Volunteers restore Pond Island. A pond island at a popular park has undergone a successful restoration. 40 Hall's Pond Island will soon offer the many wildfowl who visit the estate a place to shelter and nest in the coming months. The Friends of 40 Hall Park have worked with Enfield Council to create a safe and sustainable pond island, moving the unsightly original created in the 1970s to a more appropriate position that does not disrupt the view to and from the manor house. The new island is supported by rock rolls that are resilient and will offer protection from erosion, while the main body of the island has been planted with shrubs to support the lake's ecosystem and to provide safe areas for waterfowl and wading birds. Enfield Council's Cabinet Member for the Environment, Councillor Gunny Doggan, said, I would like to thank everyone who has worked hard on this fantastic project. The council officers, volunteers, and in particular the Friends of 40 Hall Park. Come the spring, the pond island will look absolutely beautiful, but will also serve an important ecological function for birds, pollinators, insects, and other wildlife. It should also be noted that the restoration of the pond was made possible largely due to the huge amount of fundraising by the Friends group. Their popular music on the lawn events have helped to support the ongoing conservation of the 40 Hall parkland, and for that they should be congratulated. The next Music on the Lawn at 40 Hall will be held on Sunday, the 30th of June.
Happy Bunnies. Nicola Walker writes about a new service for pet owners which is opening in Enfield. And she says, over the years, the RSPCA Enfield Katherin has helped to find new homes for countless cats and kittens, as well as supporting the local community through animal welfare schemes such as microchipping and neutering. Now we are expanding our support to the community and have opened a free Enfield Pet Wellness Centre. Sometimes there are misconceptions about how to care for a pet, and some people may not realise they're not looking after their pets in the right way. As a result, the pets could become sick. Sadly, we found that if an animal does fall ill, a small minority of people are then too scared to seek veterinary help. And this is where we hope the Wellness Centre can help. People can bring their pets to us for advice in a friendly and safe environment where no one is judged. All we will do is offer help and guidance to find the right diet, accommodation and care for your animals. So whether you're feeding a stray cat or worrying about your cat, rabbit, hamster, guinea pig or other small furry creature, you're eligible for a free wellness appointment. We are particularly keen to see rabbit owners. Many people are unaware that rabbits are highly intelligent, inquisitive animals, and this means they have complex needs and have to be really well looked after in order to have a good quality of life. Rabbits come in a variety of breeds, shapes and sizes. Each bunny has their own unique personality and can live for 8 to 12 years or even longer. They prefer to live in pairs and need a good-sized place to live as they are so active and need to be able to hop, run, jump, dig and stand fully upright on their back legs or stretch out fully when lying down, as well as needing somewhere quiet to rest and sleep. Final year vet students from the Royal Veterinary College, RVC, will offer 30-minute slots every Wednesday. They'll be joined by one of the experienced RVC vets. Now, this is not a veterinary clinic, but pet owners who have not signed up with the vet yet will be given details of local veterinary facilities, including subsidised clinics for those on low incomes. All attendees will be given a warm welcome and a free pet goodie bag. We can't see dogs at the Katherin. They might scare the cats, but we can give advice on how to care for dogs. And the information, if you feel that that's a service you might want to make use of, it's the Enfield Pet Wellness Centre. It's based at the RSPCA's branch in Primrose Avenue. Appointments are available from 10 in the morning to 4 in the afternoon on Wednesdays. And to book an appointment, you can simply call them on 07557 118 484.
And this is an article from Stephen Cox, who's from Bowles, and he explains how he wrote his first novel, Our Child of the Stars. How did I write Our Child of the Stars? Did I stick to the old saying, write about what you know? I wrote a short story for Halloween about a couple, Jean and Molly, and their strange but lovable son, Corey. I was intrigued, obsessed. There was tragedy in Molly's past and violence in the family's future. What an oddly likeable little boy Corey was. Whole strands of the book come from single sentences in the story, such as how Corey came into their dreams. And it was clear the setting was rural New York, and the timing was that great myth-filled decade, the 60s. I was brought up in Bristol. It would have been easier to move the book to the urban England of my childhood and set it a little later. the book would have been surprisingly different. Yet the characters were very clear in where they came from. What I know, I hope, is people. I have always been surrounded by strong, interesting women, which helped to write Molly, the main voice. I know families, bereavements, arguments, and what it is to be a child, a sibling, and a parent. I know what I care about, what I think of the world then and now, in brackets, war and peace, truth and lies, and what type of books I do like. I'm a kind of recovering science fiction and fantasy fan. I like some of it a lot, but always because of the people. America fascinates me because I was born there. My research was talking to people, remembering stories from my parents, the books and films of the era. And the wonderful soundtrack of the 60s made music a character in the book. I knew who to ask, intelligent readers of different ages, genders, tastes and nationalities who would give me robust feedback. I wanted to try for an agent. A previous novel got nowhere, but encouraged me. It's never been so easy to find out what agents want. This book interested 3 agents and one offered to represent me. We didn't know each other, he just liked the book. It's wonderful, he said, but it needs more work. Now it is out in the world, and complete strangers love it.
And here's an informative article by Age UK Enfield with more support for the elderly. The big task that Age UK Enfield has just achieved is moving offices from the library in Ponders End to John Jackson Library in Bush Hill Park. The upheaval is finally over and normal service has resumed. The drop-in information and advice service continues to run from Monday until Wednesday 9:30am to 2:30pm, and it offers advice on a wide range of services and problems. In the last month, they've also launched 3 new peer support groups. Firstly, there's Tea and Chatter, a social friendship group which runs on the first Thursday of every month, 10am till 12pm, and that's in Enfield Town Library. Everyone is welcome. The next group launched to quite a fanfare was the Memory Club in Edmonton. This will run in the second Wednesday of each month, 10am to 12pm at Community House in 4th Street. And finally, a diabetes support group will run every last Tuesday of the month, 1:30 to 3pm at Green Towers Community Centre in Plevna Road. Now, these last 2 groups are particularly significant as they are the first of their kind in the east of the borough, and there is a demand for them, and we do hope they'll have a valuable resource to people.
And finally, Friendship and Fun, a new Rotary Club launches in Enfield Chase. Enfield's newest Rotary Club meets for breakfast on Thursdays in the heart of Enfield Town. Our early meeting time means that you can start the day with merriment before going on to work or the rest of your day's events. A friendly group of men and women, the club meetings are fun, interesting and informative. Each year we have a full programme of social and fundraising activities and hands-on projects within the community. Rotary has a great reputation for helping people within our local area, as well as supporting worthy causes both in the UK and around the world. Currently, we are raising funds for Solace Women's Refuge, Noah's Ark Children's Hospice and the Stroke Association by hosting charity quizzes and through our Christmas collections. You will also find Rotary members taking part in the Stroke Association's Know Your Blood Pressure campaign. We are always on hand to help at Enfield's annual Parade of Light. Our members help the British Legion collecting for the Poppy Appeal every November, and we were recently at Forty Hall helping with the Mayor's Fun Run. For the 7th year in a row, we joined with other Rotarians in the annual Rotary North London Disability Games at the Aspire Centre in Stanmore. There are now 5 Rotary clubs in Enfield: Southgate, Enfield, Edmonton, Bush Hill Park and Enfield Chase. Visitors and new members are always welcome. Our members are all enthusiastic and take an active role helping in our local community. An international organisation, Rotary's mission statement is, "Together we see a world where people unite and take action to create lasting change across the globe, in our communities and in ourselves." If you want to put something back into the community or change the world, please come and visit us to see what Rotary does. And that's the Rotary Club of Enfield Chase, which meets every Thursday from 7:15 a.m. at the Coffee Lounge in Enfield Baptist Church. That's the one in Cecil Road, and that's the postcode EN2 7QS. And for more information about this, you can show up on a Thursday at 7:15 in the morning, or you could visit, and this is all one word, enfieldchaserotary.org.
We've reached the end of our programme for the week. Thank you for listening. And so from the team of Romany, Ros, Katherin and Patricia, and them on the controls, it's
Goodbye and a Happy New Year!
Now please remember to turn over the address label in your postal packet. Put the memory stick into the packet in a closed position and return it to us as soon as possible, in readiness for the next edition. Don't forget, you can call Diane de Jersey regarding any help you may require in connection with Enfield Talking Newspaper on 020 8805 6578. Coming up next, the latest news and information for the Greater London area from InfoSound. The Enfield Talking Newspaper will be with you again in 1 week's time.